you so much, Jasmine. So, do I have a clicker? Yes. Right. There, this one. All right. So, hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. Very honored. I think the 4th time in Stockholm, never been to Uppsala. So, we're going to talk about science fiction, how robots are going to take over the world, and this is going to be exciting, okay? So, you should be ready. So, we're talking about AI, robots, and what's happening around the world. And the thing is that everything we're saying about science fiction is turning into science fact. And I'm going to show you why I think that is happening. And after this talk, I hope all of you run just out of here and get equipped for this. So just a little bit about myself, as somebody who hopes to get some superpowers in the very, very, very close future. So I'm Moojan, based in Paris today, originally from Iran, Tehran. And so I'm the co-founder of an association, an initiative called Women in AI, trying to close this gender gap in this field. I also have co-founded other initiatives, which is, well, basically, all I'm going to tell you about myself has nothing to do together, like really, really different stuff. So just as a context, I'm organizing also an event in Iran called Sigfox Startup, which is the first international conference there. We do road trips around Iran and connecting Iranian startups with the rest of the world. And my full-time job is actually nothing else but like in IoT. So it's about education. So I'm really passionate about education. I have a background in engineering and finance and working a lot in basically events and connecting meaningful connections. So, why we have been talking about robots a lot? I think that science fiction, what it's doing is that turning our desires as human beings into reality. And one of the things that is very present is robots. In all our movies, in the history of our stories, our books, we had been always dealing with robots who are assistants, who are creatures around us that helping us to augment our capacities. So how many of you know more than 5 of these movies, of these pictures? More than 5 of it. Oh, great. So the recent ones, I think everybody knows, like Ex Machina, iRobots, WALL-E. The first movie, which was basically showing a robot inside, was in 1919. And you see Charlie Chaplin, like it's down left, Charlie Chaplin playing in it, and that was a robot like made by paper. So that was the very first robot movie in the whole history. Then there was a movie called, oh sorry, I forgot the name. I think Metropolis in 1927, and going. So that was say that we have this big desire for having robots around us. Some of them that are good, some of them that are bad, but we are trying to see what is possible and putting it in a science fiction and making them come true. So as a fact, here in this graph we see the population of robots are already exceeding the population of people today. So this graph is already only showing the robots for personal purposes, so personal service robots. And that it says that until 2050, we're going to have 10 billion robots. So this is going to be very huge. Also, this here shows that autonomous robots who are exceeding already humans' capacities are getting over more and more, meaning that every single industry that you can imagine is getting more dominant by robots. So for example, pick an industry, art, health, I don't know, gaming, fintech, anything you can imagine is getting more and more occupied by robots and that are better than humans. So of course we have all these articles about how robots are getting better and we are going to lose our jobs. But if you know some skills that is more human skills, like management, like stuff that it has emotions inside, we're not going to lose our job. So this is the very important thing. We are getting worse and worse than robots in tasks that are very vertical and very specific to one task. But what keeps us with job, like we can work on it, is more soft skills. So I'm going to show you some examples about the robots that are like they're mind-blowing. So how many of you know Boston Dynamics? Yeah, right. So this robot, it like freaks me out. It's a robot that is super smart. It can basically it can be used in defense. It can be used in like many stuff that is super fast. It's the one on the top left. That they have made it, and they have done a lot of experiments about it. It's a very, very smart robot. They can open door without knowing it and not seen it before. There's another robot just on the left down. It's a robot made by Russians called Russian Fedor. This robot is like the real Terminator. The 2 arms, like going into, I don't know, space apparently. I don't believe that. And also, there's cooking robots, just a few examples of them. But one of them that is really interesting is the one on the right, on top. This robot is inspired by Spider's move, and this is the first and only, up till today, robot that has a self-conscious. So what they did with that, it was they cut one of its legs, and they understood that it understands. So after a while, it learns how to walk with 3 legs. So that's our first basically one. So showing all these robots and all these new things going on. So what is really the difference between us humans and robots? This line is getting thinner and thinner. So Dr. Hiroshi, if I'm not mistaken his name, Hiroshi Inshura, yeah, Japanese name, sorry. So this professor in Japan has started to create humanoids that look exactly like as humans, like at others. So he has made his twins. This is actually the last version. There had been the previous version. And he has been doing this over and over to make robots as close as possible to humans. So imagine a meeting. You're sitting with your twin, and also these twins are going to have conversations among themselves, and you're going to be there also to talk to them. So how does this really look like? Can you imagine this? Like sitting tomorrow at your board meeting, and you're going to talk to a twin of your boss and talk to a twin of your, I don't know, another investor. Or maybe they're not going to be twins of anybody. They're going to be themselves robots on their own and going to engage in conversations, business meetings. And this is the one that it blew my mind the first time I saw it. So this dude created his own robot, and he married to her. And that's the first basically officially recognized marriage of a human and robot in Japan by the government. So imagine how we are getting more and more into the world that we are getting robots into our lives in such a significant way that this thin line between humans and robots getting really, really difficult to recognize. So imagine Sophie is getting better at everything you do. So Sophie, one day is, your assistant, like secretary, and tomorrow she can be actually a model. That actually she did that literally, like with her creepy catwalk and scared the audience. And that was, like a boom in the fashion industry that, oh, Sophia can take our job too. So if you're using robots for everything, if you're, taking them, marry with them, be our assistant, should they have rights? Can we treat them as our slaves? Can we think it's ethical to use, for example, a robot for defense, killing somebody else, or as a pet? I don't know. This is the big question. What is the robot's right? And if robots have rights, then what happens to us humans? What does it change for us? Human right, does it evolve also? And after all, if you're respecting robots as the way that we're doing for humans, what happens to humanity? What happens if tomorrow, like, I have my my boyfriend next to me walking the street, and that is a robot. So you're seeing the society like living with robots at the same time. What happens to this? So here's a definition of human that I took from Wikipedia. But all it says is that a human basically means a wise, basically, person. So if we are wise and we walk on our feet, that can mean human. So if you have a more complex brain. So what if we humans create intelligent, smarter creatures that can also walk down their feet and they have more complex, systematic brain? Does it mean that we are not human anymore? And then where we reach to a point that we get to singularity, that many people talk about it, that it's going to be a catastrophic event in a very far future, that basically all these super intelligent machines that had become smarter and smarter, then decide at some point to take over humanity and then rule the universe. So at that moment, what happens to us? If robots are getting better, if we are creating more smarter machines, and if we're losing jobs, so what happens to us? So in my point of view, and I agree with Elon Musk on this sense, is that we humans need to augment ourselves too. If we are creating machines and, let's say, augmented humans, then we need to augment themselves and transform ourselves. It can, translate. So this phone, for example, this is an extra gadget. But what if, for example, I use this to have a stronger body? Why not using it to, augment my brain? Why? This is all the superpowers that I think we need to have and augment ourselves in order to live longer in the future. So basically, it introduces to the cyborgness and everything about transhumanism. So that's actually the evolution that I myself personally believe in, and many people are talking about it, that you are going to create more and more people that are going to be more equipped, that they are not humans and they are not robots, but actually it's a mix of them. So here's a first, maybe well-known cyborg. His name is Neil. Basically, he's Irish, and he was born with a problem that he could not see lights. So what he did himself, and it was illegal, basically, what he did was going to a doctor, we don't know who, he implemented an antenna on his brain that he can hear colors. So for example, every painting, every landscape for him is an orchestra, is a concert. He hears colors. And that way he is seeing some color that we human beings cannot see, because there are infrared or in a variation that we cannot see it ourselves, but he can do it. This guy is the most craziest guy. So Dr. Van Wyk, he is the person who is doing the most craziest experiments in the world. He has actually contributed a lot to AI and robotics. What he has done a lot of things on his own body. So but one of the things is that he has this artificial hand that can have all the gadgets that you need, for example, to survive, like lights, cutter, different keys and everything. And he also has implemented something on his wife's body, so anybody touches his wife, he can feel it. Like all this crazy stuff. He's a super, he's basically teaching cyborgness in universities. So this is actually a friend of mine. His name is Liviu. He is the founder of a company in UK called the North Sense. That basically is a gadget. You put it on your chest, and you can feel the North Sense. That's actually their device. After a while, he says that you won't feel these vibrations anymore. It actually becomes a part of you. So your brain learns how to find a way without you wanting it. So you augment yourself, really. Newton is another friend of mine. He's a brilliant person. He was like ex-CIO, the agent of US agents, basically, security agent, and he co-founded a company called Kiwi. So they're working on these smart chips in the brain, so it can turn you more intelligent. He has founded his company now in Paris, and this had done a lot of noise in the media. This is a company, I really like it personally because you can make a lot of stuff with this, like a lot of applications with these gadgets. It's nothing you implement into your body, it's just like a phone to use. A motive that it's a helmet that you can get your brain's basically signals, and it can give some applications. So one of the applications that I'm really interested in is the mind-controlling drones. So you can basically navigate a drone with only your brain. So you can think, for example, I want to go to the right, so I'm going to think of how I move my right hand without moving it, actually. But since your brain knows this move, you already are triggering that part of the brain that it moves your hand. So the same thing for the left, and then you can navigate this. And there are races in Stanford University that are working on that. But also, there are really, really dangerous stuff. So in my researches, when I was looking for them, I came across this company called dangerousthings.com. I don't know if the website still exists, but what they sell basically is very illegal gadgets that you can implement. For example, some knives under your nails, some stuff to open any door, like hacking stuff. And that's why it's called dangerous things. And if you see these things, you say, all right, do I need to defend myself to be able to live? So I need those gadgets too? Or what should we do? What are the laws around that? Yeah, I'm serious, that they are really dangerous. So if we are getting where we basically can change every part of our body if we don't like it, or replace it with a more powerful thing, or basically, I don't know, like have artificial heart, the truth is, our body, as a human, our body doesn't understand it's dying. We don't actually die in our cells. Our cells are, they keep producing themselves in a cycle that it goes and goes. What happens is that something breaks in the middle, and they're gonna stop. So if we think that we can replace everything in the maybe far future, but still in the future, then we can reach to immortality. And there are some companies already working on them. That's the business model of one, like the roadmap of one of them. I don't know how serious they are, but there are many of them talking about how you can, for example, do a brain emulation in, for example, a computer. So this company is saying they're going to start to having an avatar as a hologram that today you can have. And then later on, basically, they're going to scan your brain, and then they can create that in like virtual person, and later you can actually control that virtual person in a virtual body and all this stuff. Today for us it's still science fiction, but maybe in the not really far future it happens. When I say not very far, maybe 100 years, 200 years, but that's not far. So all to say that, me as a person living in the 21st century, I do believe in superpowers. I do believe that we can augment ourselves. Maybe not the same thing as the dangerousthings.com, but I think that I would like to be smarter, maybe reading minds, maybe have more time, all this stuff, or maybe fly. So a lot of things are getting really, really real recently, and I don't lose my hope, and I hope you guys not. I really like this basically quote of Ray Bradbury that says, in science fiction we dream. It's actually science fiction and our dream that are advancing the technology, and every time that we have something as a science fiction, next writer or next author is going to take that basically science fiction fact and turn it into a real human thing. And that's how we are reaching to the reality. So if you see our world as it is, maybe it is a little bit boring, but if we think that the future is larger and farther, then it is more exciting, as Elon Musk says, and I really believe in that. I think that humans' lives are really short to explore the universe, but I think maybe robotics And all these advances of technology helps us to expand and extend ourselves in our life to explore more. And thank you so much.